Tim, are we just in a preview mode or has this?
I just started the meeting, so we're officially live.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Board Chair Robert Sally. We're going to wait just a couple more minutes for our board colleagues to join us to kick off tonight's presentation. And once again, we're going to start in just a couple of minutes as we wait for a few more board colleagues to join and navigate Teams along with our participants who are joining. All right, to keep us on time, we're going to go ahead and get started, but I'd like to welcome you to our December 4th special board meeting on behalf of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. I will, just to keep us moving forward this evening, we're going to do a quick roll call, walk you through some logistics, and then we'll turn it over to the Office of New Initiatives to walk us through tonight's presentation. For our roll call, please identify yourself first before speaking for the record, and we'll go through the names as needed for questions this evening. Vice Chair Parker, she's here, but navigating a couple of audio issues. Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Ames Messenger present.
Thank you. Welcome. Commissioner Chicas Guzman.
Commissioner Chicas Guzman present.
Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Welcome. Commissioner Coy.
Commissioner Coy present.
Excellent. Welcome. Commissioner Esposito will be joining a little bit late this evening. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Commissioner Mohammed, just to acknowledge he is here for the record. He won't be able to come off audio right now. Commissioner Redding-Lollinger.
Commissioner Redding-Lollinger is present.
Welcome. Commissioner Scott Woodruff.
Commissioner Scott Woodruff present.
Thank you. Welcome. Commissioner Simmons. Commissioner Slater Harrington,
Commissioner Slater Harrington, present.
welcome. And I'm also present. So thank you so much. I'm sorry, we've got a couple of things here with our logistics. So we'll start tonight's presentation with a recap from the Executive Director of Office of New Initiatives, Ms. Angela Alvarez, followed by public testimony. We ask that all of our all of our audience remain muted and videos turned off until it is your time to testify, or you may be muted or removed from the call. And now we'll turn it over to Ms. Alvarez for the presentation, and we'll go forward from there.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm Angela Alvarez. I'm the Senior Executive Director of the Office of New Initiatives for City Schools. I also have a little bit of housekeeping just to ensure that we're making equitable access for all of the members of the public who are viewing tonight's session. So I just want to, if I can have a moment of indulgence just to share some rules for enabling language translation and interpretation during this meeting. To show this in a different language.
Angela, if somebody could make sure that that's spotlighted for everybody, it's in the small window, but it's not the primary view.
Oh, I don't know how to do that. Okay, thank you.
No, that just did it. Whatever you just did there. There we go. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I'll give a few minutes for that. And then we're going to show it just in some other languages really quickly, the directions. And we also have an interpreter that's joining us in the meeting. Just as a way of brief introductions, we have 7 schools that are up for renewal. We're going to call representatives from each school after just a brief reminder of the recommendation up. Each school will have 4 minutes, and then the board will ask schools questions. Okay. So with that, we are going to start with Pimlico. Pimlico Elementary School, which is a conversion charter school, is recommended for a 3-year renewal. They were developing in student achievement, school climate, effective in financial management and governance. And so you can see they were developing in some of their MCAT measures. 1 or 2 areas of non-effectiveness. They were highly effective in the 5 essentials, which is predictive of school success. Schools that earn this sort of rating are 10 times more likely than other schools to improve performance. And they had mixed results in effective programming for all students of racial ethnic groups. With that brief intro, I'm going to invite Laura Doherty and Neko Warren to come to the screen, and I'm going to turn it over to them to begin presenting.
Okay, great. Thanks, Angela. Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Doherty, and I'm the president of the Baltimore Curriculum Project. We are happy to be here tonight to talk about the significant progress of Pimlico Elementary Middle School over the past few years, as well as our next steps towards attaining higher student achievement. It is my great pleasure to introduce a remarkable woman who unflinchingly faced some steep climbs when she began as acting principal in 2018. Principal Naka Warren will lead us through the information.
All right. Can you see the slideshow?
Not actually, so it has to go into full screen. There we go.
Okay.
Is it? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good evening, commissioners. The Pimlico,
Just a moment. We see like your presenting view. So if it was possible to blow up this, like the present the slide portion.
okay, let me see if it's going.
Sorry. Thank you so much. I
No
know
problem.
this is a mess.
There it goes.
There we go.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. The Pimlico community is pleased with the recommendation to allow the great work that our staff, students, and families have begun under Baltimore Curriculum Project to continue for another term. I'll present a PowerPoint to you that highlights key points. We appreciate the overall reflection of our learning community provided by the Renewal and SCR reports. The goal tonight is to highlight areas of growth so that you can get to know Pimlico. One of our major accomplishments that is not an indicator for the renewal process is an increase in our MSDE rating. Pimlico was once identified as one of the lowest 5% in the state. With BCP as our operator, we went from 1 star to 2 stars in 2023, and we're now just 2 points shy of 3-star rating. Next, our MCAP scores have steadily increased from school year 22 to 25. ELA has gone from 9% proficient to 19.5%, and math has gone from 0.75% to 71% proficient. Under BCP, our climate has improved dramatically. Our staff was trained in restorative practices, and it was implemented with fidelity. Our students know that they have a voice and are able to communicate their thoughts in a peaceful manner. Restorative practice has helped to decrease suspensions by building relationships and proactively handling issues as they arise. Students and families come to us with their issues, and we help to restore. From school year 23 to 25, suspensions have declined from 15.2% to 7.2% in the middle grades and 14.6% to 18.7% in elementary. The middle school is below the district's 17%, and elementary is close to the district's 4.9%. Our ML population has steadily increased over the years. As you can see from the slide, the solid lines represent Pimlico. Our ML growth started out significantly below city schools, rose dramatically, then had a slight dip. Due to the political climate, many of our families had a major drop in attendance. The students that did not come were often worried and anxious about their safety and wondering if their families would be deported. This had a major effect on academics. Last is the School Effectiveness Review and the 5E report. Both these measures show that Pimlico is in a strong position to continue on the positive growth trajectory and that our school is a great place for students and staff. While our math proficiency rose over 7 points during our contract and is 2 points higher than our comparison group, it is still a low number, and we are working hard on improving our math outcomes. We changed our curriculum last year, hired intervention teachers, and increased the amount of classroom coaching that teachers receive. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.
All right, I now open up to my board colleagues who may have any questions from the team from Pimlico. And because it's difficult for me to see, we'll just have board commissioners come off of mute.
I can get us started. Can you speak a little bit more to the curriculum changes, given the fact that you use direct instruction as a network? So where is it kind of differentiated within the school, and how are you relating that with other folks that are also part of Baltimore Curriculum Project?
Yes, well, we adopted Reveal in math, just as the district did. So we have followed that. We participated in some of the initial meetings with the district with Reveal, and our math coaches also participate in some of those meetings.
Yeah, ELA
good.
has remained the same. We haven't switched the direct instruction reading, but we were using Eureka before, and that wasn't working. And so we did a big study, and we're happy that we came up with the same program as city schools. We do use direct instruction math in pre-K and K, which we think prepares our kids well for entering Reveal in the first grade.
Thank you, Commissioner Ames-Messenger. Thank you, team. Any additional questions from board colleagues this evening? Hearing none, I think we can release you guys this evening. We thank you so much for the presentation. We look forward to seeing y'all
Thank
soon.
you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
You're
night.
welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you to the team.
Thank you, guys. All right. Our next school is Clay Hill, which is a newer school. This is its first renewal. It's an elementary middle school. It was found to be effective in each of the areas: student achievement, climate, financial management, and governance. Is recommended for a 5-year renewal. They were effective in MCAP absolute performance in both math 3 to 5 and ELA 3 to 5, and were significantly higher than the median rate for their proficiency schools. They were highly effective in the 5 essentials, again, indicating the school is well organized for success and 10 times more likely than other schools to improve student outcomes across indicators. They were highly effective in crime and absence, where the school's rates for elementary students were at 18.9%. And for middle grade students was at 4.5%, which is significantly below the averages for similar student populations. In this year's review for the academic data, we could only look at the elementary school because they're a growing school. With that said, I want to invite up Jane, Allie, Miss Augustine, and Lizette Wells on behalf of Clay Hill and Bluebird. Sorry, having a little tech issue.
Can you hear us?
We can now. Yep.
Okay. I'm not sure, but our camera isn't working.
Let me just phone a friend. Tim, do you know if there's any particular settings that will help the Clay Hill team?
Yeah, so if you go into the top right corner, click on the camera button, and then just double check that you have the correct camera selected.
It's saying video sharing is disabled by the administrator.
Gotcha, 1 second.
And is Lizette Wells?
Video sharing should be enabled because we've had other people with cameras on, and I don't have any other like distinct settings on your on this side.
Okay. Well, we'll just proceed. All right. Go from there. So good evening, commissioners. My name is Jane Linenfelser. I'm the executive director of Bluebird Education Network, and I'm joined this evening by 7th grader Ali Valladares, founding principal Emily Augustine, and our board president Lizette Wells. Founding a new school is full of adventures, and we're honored by the recommendation for a 5-year contract. We plan to highlight just a few of the strengths and plans for the future. That said, our first value as an organization is our belief in children. So we wanted you to hear from Ali first about her experiences at Clay Hill.
Hi, my name is Ali. I'm a 7th grader and I am 13 years old. This is my 2nd year at Clay Hill. In my experience, Clay Hill has been the school I have learned most at and deserve a 5-year contract because the teachers are amazing, teach like professionals. For example, when I was debating about plastic pollution and why plastic should be banned, I was not being super specific, but one of my teachers, Miss Alukta, kept pushing me to be more specific. She said I was not going to like it, but in future presentations, it was going to help me. I want more kids to have the same opportunity at Clay Hill, so I encourage you to vote in favor for the 5-year contract for Clay Hill.
Thank you, Ali.
I'm Emily Augustine, the founding principal, and at Clay Hill, we have 4 community affirmations that are aligned to the pillars of our whole child education model. The first is I am a learner, soy un aprendiz. And as Ali mentioned, we want our students to believe they're learners because that will translate to their academic pursuits at Clay Hill and beyond. We're incredibly proud of our academic program and our students' success in our first 5 years. We believe the most telling data point of our program's success is our 3rd grade MCAP scores from last year. After working with this first cohort of students since their kindergarten year, our founding year, 47% of 3rd grade students scored proficient in both ELA and math, surpassing the district average in both content areas and the state average in math. The overall success of our academic program can also be seen in the Maryland State Report Card rating. Clay Hill has gone from a 2-star school in our first year to a 4-star school this year. We attribute this success to the program we've designed for English language development and early literacy. When we opened the school, we knew we would be likely to be serving a large multilingual learner population, and that language acquisition needed to be a primary goal. We've implemented a number of innovative strategies, which I'm happy to speak more about through questioning, but the impact of this model can be seen in our WIDA access scores as well as our MCAP scores. The median student growth percentile for ELA put Clay Hill in the 84th percentile, yielding a highly effective rating for student growth. We also look forward to continual improvement over the next 5-year contract. Our academic focus in the next 5 years will be on building similar structures for our math program and growing our middle school program to scale. Attendance is another area where we've made remarkable strides. Students want to be at school, as evidenced by the 93.97% attendance rate and a significant decrease in chronic absenteeism over the course of our contract from 44% in school year 21-22 to 18.9% in school year 24-25 in the K-5 grade band and only 4.5% in 6th to 8th grade during last school year. This is a direct result of the school's commitment to fostering an environment where students feel safe, valued, and excited to come to school each and every day.
So Lizette Wells was going to join, but is having some technical difficulties. She was going to be speaking briefly about finance and governance. Over our first contract, our board has very carefully been a thought partner on budgeting, transparent financial practices, and effective resource allocation, making sure that every year we're passing a balanced budget while adjusting our program to meet the needs of a growing student population. Our financial audits have consistently been clean, and we've met all state and local contractual requirements. So in conclusion, Clay Hill was rated, as you saw, effective in all 3 areas, and we respectfully request your approval of the charter school's contract renewal for an additional 5-year term. We're happy to answer any questions you may have about our program or our application for renewal.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Augustine, and thank you, Ms. Lindenfelser. I appreciate the opportunity for you guys to present this evening, and I'll open it up to my board colleagues for questions.
Sorry, y'all. I'm going to go again and give other people a minute to think. Speaking a little bit, you are in a building that has needed some ongoing maintenance. You do have some construction plans going on, as I understand it. Just speaking a little bit in the next 5 years, kind of what are some on kind of the capital improvements and looking at your building infrastructure? What are you anticipating in terms of cost and kind of what's the financial planning that's going in to reflect that? And how is the board contributing to those efforts?
Yeah, thank you. We have done a significant amount of work on the facility, to your point. So I'm going to just share a little bit of background and context and then speak a little bit about the future. To date, we've successfully completed 3 major construction projects. And at this point, our building is suitable to the size of our school population at full scale. With this last project that we completed this year. That also included the kitchen, as well as we've done windows and HVAC replacements as well. We do foresee one outstanding project. This past summer, we did some minimal renovations on the 1st and 2nd floor of the west wing of the building. And in a future summer, probably 2027, we're going to finish that up with windows on that side, as well as some roof repairs over there. In terms of anticipated costs, the way construction projects work is you have to do the design drawings and then get those quoted by a construction firm first. So we haven't yet started that work because we just wrapped up our 2025 construction project, but plan to begin that probably, I would say, summer 2026, early fall 2026. And to your point about how will we afford it, we're feeling confident about the investments that have been made thus far in our capital project, and we have some reserves already to be spent on that final phase.
Great.
And
Thank you.
apologies, a follow-up. Your building is in a law. Can you confirm the terms of your lease and the ownership of the building? I'm sorry, I knew this at some point, but would like to have it confirmed.
No, yeah. So we actually have a 50-year lease on the building, and that was attached to our financing structure. We have the option to purchase the building in 2028. We are able to execute that purchase option in 2026, which we plan to do.
Thank you and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Additional questions from board colleagues?
Yes, just really quickly, and I apologize if this was already said. I was having some technical issues. What will your sort of ideal student population or student size be when you're fully built out, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are currently at just over 400 students, kindergarten through 7th grade. We're going to continue our growth. Those 7th graders will age up to be our first 8th grade class next year. And then we'll continue to build out those younger classes through a enrollment model that we've mapped out through the next 10 years or so. So at total, we plan to be 540 K-8.
Okay, and do you anticipate any challenges getting to that number? Would the data suggest that you would have difficulty getting there, or do you think that won't be an issue?
Yeah, I don't think we anticipate difficulty. We had, I would say, some challenges in recruitment in our first year we opened fall of 2021, right after the pandemic. But since then, we've met and actually exceeded our enrollment target each year. And so, we have a wait list for many grade levels. And so we have had success, and I don't anticipate any enrollment challenges.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions from board colleagues this evening? So I'll just throw one on there too, which Ms. Augustine, I appreciate the opportunity to visit the school and to come see just the vibrant environment that you guys have created. I'm curious to explore with you just a little bit in terms of how, actually this is much more for Jane than you, but like as an operator, you guys are thinking about how you're sharing, building best practices between this school and other schools that you may operate so that the learnings, the growth, and the opportunity can share.
Jane, you want to take that? Or
Yeah. Thank you for that question. I think a couple things come to mind. And it's really grounded in, or I guess a realization I've sort of had as we're newer to operating a 2-school network, is that people do their best work when they're able to engage and work together. And so we've started to do that in a couple strategic ways. So for the last 2 years, we've hosted a Bluebird Learning Summit on the October PD Day, and it's brought both schools together. And really, it's been an opportunity for folks within our network, because we have such talented educators, to share either a best practice or, a passion project, something that they're really interested in, which then opens up the lines for collaboration. We've also done a Bluebird breakfast at the January PD Day, and that's really been focused a little bit more on just inspiration at that time in the school year. And then the third thing is we're currently engaged in a math curriculum review process. So as a board, probably about 2 years into being a 2-school community, our board of directors had a great retreat where we talked about our approach to curriculum and wanting to make sure that we had consistencies across the network, which we weren't there at the time. We were sort of using different curriculums and different some consistencies in some content areas like English language arts, but maybe in other content areas not so much. And so math is one of those where we've been using a similar curriculum Eureka and Eureka Squared, but slightly different. And so this has been a moment for our math educators to come together to watch classrooms in action and to talk about what's the best curriculum to be used across our network. I don't know if that answers your question, but those are just like a couple examples of how we're thinking about that collaboration and that best practice sharing across the network.
Great, I appreciate that. And I encourage you guys to think, more broadly with city schools as a whole in terms of sharing opportunities for everybody to learn from the good successes from your network and things that you can also take in from traditional schools as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I don't think there's any additional questions either from board colleagues. Hearing none, thank you guys for joining us this evening, and I'll turn it back over to Ms. Alvarez.
Okay, we are going to be inviting Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys up. If we could put a spotlight on the presentation, thank you. They are a elementary middle school serving students in grades 4 through 8. They've had 2 previous partial renewals with conditions. They were rated not effective in student achievement and financial governance and management. They were developing a climate. The recommendation is to non-renew the school and close at the end of the school year. They had a developing in the MCAT performance for ELA 3 to 5 and 6 to 8, which was a bright spot where students had partial proficiency, but they were not effective in MCAT absolute performance for math 3 to 5 and 6 to 8, and not effective in MCAT student growth percentile for each of the grade levels where they were in the bottom percentiles. For each of those, the growth has the most weight within the renewal process. They were not effective in programming for students with disabilities, and this was an issue of concern in the prior renewals, and they did not meet expectations in audit and internal controls, where the review found that the school had 3 years of negative net assets. Cash balances have decreased each year from the prior year, and as of the last audit, the school was operating with only 14 days cash on hand. With that, I'm going to invite up Edwin Avent and Principal Bridgers to turn their screens on.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys, the gentlemen, families, staff, board, and community that supports us. Over the past 11 years, Baltimore Collegiate has been home for the young men of Baltimore and their families who have chosen to send their sons to the only public all-boys school in the state of Maryland. Our families have chosen us and continue to choose us because they believe that their young men will flourish in a community designed for their needs. When we started our school, we sought to disrupt the school-to-prison pipeline. Over the last 4 years, Baltimore Collegiate alumni have graduated from high school at a rate of 90%, compared to African-American boys of similar economic backgrounds across Baltimore City who graduated at a rate of just 60%. Please let that number sink in. 90% compared to 60%. That's a 30 percentage point difference. Baltimore Collegiate alumni have also enrolled in college at a rate of over 40% after graduating from high school. These numbers don't appear in the renewal rubric, but they are the kind that help to disrupt the school-to-prison pipeline, and that's why we started our school. Over the years, we will continue to build up our financial strength and systems, refine our academic instruction, and ensure that every young man who walks through our doors feels valued and respected. Baltimore City Schools told our families that they have a vote in deciding what is right for their sons, grandsons, and nephews. If today the decision is made to close Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys, then we are taking away our families' right to choose. We owe our families the choice to fulfill the promise that we have made them. Please renew Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys and show our families that in Baltimore, the world does not decide our young man's futures, we do. Now I'd like to introduce you to our principal, Mr. Kelvin Bridgers.
Good evening, everyone. We're crystal clear on what we need to do to strengthen our school, and our boys deserve the opportunity to have us to continue this endeavor. During the last renewal, we improved every aspect of our work. We became laser focused on strengthening our climate and culture because we know it's the key to unlocking our gentleman's excellence. Over the last 3 years, we raised our attendance rate in general and special education, significantly decreased our chronic absenteeism rate, dramatically increased in scores on the 5 essential survey from our previous renewal, and demonstrated major growth in family satisfaction, which jumped from 61% in 2021-2022 to 89% in 2024-2025. While we did not earn the absolute academic achievement on MCAP, which is in alignment with our vision of success, there's been consistent growth, especially in ELA. MCAP trend data reflects increase in ELA growth for each of our grade levels since the previous contract renewal, with some grades making double-digit gains. We understand we have a lot more work to do in both ELA and math. And to get there, we had to first strengthen our school's culture, which we did by every metric. With the addition of 2 outpatient mental health clinics in our school, school-wide morning meetings, which is our opening SEL activity, students and staff demonstrate our vision, mission, and core virtues in support of one another. It's a must-see. Now that our culture is established, we are confident we have the team and systems in place to make the necessary academic gains for our children. Before the renewal report was published, our team had already began making the necessary adjustments. We transitioned curricula to ensure that it was cohesive and it leveraged high quality materials. We added more touch points and feedback for supporting effective instruction, for which the SER team recognized our school with an effective rating. As a result, our school has shifted our focus to ensure that our boys are academically competitive and socially well adjusted to compete in the world stage. For where we've come to where we are now with this upward trajectory, we ask for a 3-year renewal. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bridgers, and thank you, Mr. Avent, for the presentation this evening. I will actually let me start this evening just with a full acknowledgement for the community as well for the Baltimore collegiate community. So I was on the board when this school came before the Board of School Commissioners for renewal. There are some things here that show some growth as you've highlighted here, but there are some serious areas for concern that the board must consider and weigh in determining whether or not the school stays open. And the success factors are here to ensure that our boys receive a high quality education here in Baltimore City. One area I'll start with, and there likely be other questions by school commissioners, is on the quality of the operator to ensure success. I'm hopeful that you guys may be able to talk a little bit about changes you feel that have been put into place that would support the school staying open and getting another renewal from the operator standpoint. I want to start at just kind of this meta level.
Sure. Well, I believe that from the perspective of the operator, there were several things that were required of us in the last renewal. There were several conditions that you required of us. We met all the conditions. We met some of them way ahead of schedule. Now, mind you, when we do all the things like the SER 5 essential surveys, it's really 2 years into a 3-year renewal. And within those 2 years, we met all of the criteria of the conditions that you wanted, but then we went into the SER, and in the SER, we increased in every area. The prior year in 2022, we had 8 developings, 3 effectives, and 1 not effective. In the current one, we went up to 9 effectives, just 2 developing and 1 not effective. So we had a tremendous amount of increase in the school effectiveness review. Then when we went to the 5 essential survey, we had double-digit growth in every one of the 5 essential survey areas. If I was to put that on the screen, you would see some areas we went from 16% to 53% in some areas, and we can go over that more effectively. But if you look at our 5 essential survey, there's growth. Going from weak to neutral, and we're on an upward trajectory as you asked us to do in the last renewal and one of the conditions. And so those things have definitely increased from the standpoint of the operator and the team that we put in place to increase our performance. With regards to economics and finance, there definitely has been some things that have changed over the years. I think that have impacting not just us, but all charter schools with regards to funding. We have raised money over the years, over the last few years, just the last 3 years, we've raised over $1.2 million that's outside of the money that we receive for our per pupil allocation. At the same time, we're definitely dealing with some areas where, with regards to enrollment, we've grown over the last few years. We see it's a challenge, however, to grow like at a time like this when an announcement is made before the vote happens, that we could possibly be closed. People hesitate on applying to our schools. So that slows down some of our enrollment. But we believe, should we be blessed enough to get a renewal, that we can turn our marketing on and increase our enrollment, which would increase revenue for us as well.
I appreciate that. And, I think to speak to enrollment, I think, there has to be a confidence indicator by our community in terms of the quality of education that our students will receive in Baltimore City. And so there's some things that are highlighted here that likely will be lifted up by my board colleagues that may raise some additional concerns here.
Sure. Let me also,
Sure,
if I might also state, I pointed out something that I think is very important for not just you as board members, but the city of Baltimore, and the reason why our school was created. We're, like we said, our mission was to break the school to prison pipeline, which it's indicated if boys could not read by 3rd grade, they were building jail cells for them. And what we do in our school, surely, we're dealing with some of the same challenges at every school. If you disaggregate the data, not just comparing our school to other schools that are co-ed schools, but
I think I can.
Excuse me, just one second. So there may be somebody else who should have their line muted. Just, we want to make sure we allow our presenters the full time and space to respond. Thank you.
If you look at our data with our boys, when it comes to academics, we probably are the same academically as about 13 of your schools. We definitely look at that data when we compare ourselves on the MCAP data. If we are academic, not a success, there's several schools that if you look at just the boy data, we're similar to. But where we differ from everybody is that since when our boys leave our school, we prepare them to be successful in high school. And our boys persist through high school. And so if you look at our data, our boys graduated from high school in 2022, 23, 24, and 25. On average, it's 90%. And the same for the city is 60%. There's something that's happening with boys in the city where they're not staying in school, they're not persisting. We think that we figured that out as the operator. We understand what it takes to raise boys to be successful people. If you look at the data, if you go into Infinite Campus right now and look at the boys that are still in high school that have graduated from our school in the 12th grade, there's over 90% of our boys that are still in school. The 11th grade, over 95%. The 10th grade and the 9th grade, 100% of the boys that graduate from our school are still in high school. And I think what's missing in Baltimore City Public Schools is the formula to get boys to like school, to care about school, to have grit and determination. And that is the formula of the operator. And so we can talk about a variety of things that the operator may or may not do, but if we compare ourselves to other Baltimore City schools, our boys are performing on par with them. But where we differ is what we're looking for in the long run, which is to get our boys to graduate from high school, to go on to college or to trade school, and lead a life where they're not going to be in danger of being in trouble with the law. And so those are the things, the qualities that I think that us as an operator bring to the table.
I appreciate that perspective. I'm going to, just for out of time's sake, turn it over to my colleagues for other additional questions.
Thank you, Chair Sally. I do have a question, and this is perhaps for Director Alvarez, Senior Director Alvarez. Is it possible to pull up the conditions from the prior renewal so we can see the language of those? And I would ask that for any of the schools that we are reviewing, the operators that we're reviewing, that we be able to pull those up, either at this meeting or in a future meeting. Is that something possible for tonight?
Yeah, if you can give me a second, if someone can ask another question, I can do that.
If you could give us the ability to share, I can pull them up because I have them on a slide ready to show you.
I think you have the ability to share.
When I click on share, it says that presenter mode, whiteboard power aren't available during this event. For us, it's not available when I click on the share button.
Okay, event services, can you guys assist with that? In the meantime, does another board member have a question? And I'll also pull it up in case we'll both try.
I had two good questions. The first one relating to services for special education or students with special education, and that there have been a number of findings and just looking at kind of the systems. If you were granted a 3-year renewal, what are specific strategies that you have identified as a school team to look to address where those patterns of findings have been and what interventions would be needed to meet students with IEPs and also those in the process of being identified to receive services?
Thank you for that question. So when I look at the findings and it stated that there was ineffective in special education, I want you to know that the special education FAPE issues were not issues of service. There was no child here at Baltimore Collegiate that did not receive the amount of time and services. As a matter of fact, the errors were clerical. There were a number of issues where related service providers actually put their information into Maryland Online. And when the surveyor actually, or the auditor came to look for that inside of the folder, it was actually in Maryland Online, which is actually the new protocol and process. And therefore, at that particular time, we were dinged with that. We were also dinged with a particular boy receiving a little more minutes in terms of service, which still constitutes a FAPE issue. So although these issues were clerical, I still suggest that it's a serious issue. In terms of that, it's about being a bit more proactive in terms of ensuring that the quality of our work and the systems that are in place are to ensure that not only the services are taking place, that the clerical components that are responsible for ensuring that it matches with what the actual services are in place as well. But we're very confident about from which we've come. When I took over here in doing the actual first year of the new renewal, that we've done a phenomenal job with our team in ensuring that all boys have received services. When we took over, there were children that were not properly receiving services in our school. We've clarified and we've cleaned that component up in our school. And I'm very confident about what we've done. And I would love to share the actual findings with you so you can see the actual written details that there were no kids here that did not receive any services, but there were clerical concerns.
I will happily read them if you get them to us. I think building on that kind of leads to my second question, is speaking at kind of part of the challenges of working with small schools when you spoke about enrollment is that you're looking at that, regardless of what your fundraising load is that relative to what you're able to get in per student funding is, it's difficult to move. And so part of where those show up is looking at staffing that is able to support out of the classroom with things like IEP documentation. How are you making sure that you have coverage for social workers and, administrators and those types of things that get pulled? So I think kind of related to specifically looking at what does that IEP structure look like to ensure that you are you would be able to meet those standards in terms of documentation, which, well, we want to make sure that students are the most important to get services. We also want to make sure that we are able to legally justify that we are meeting the rights that they're guaranteed. So what are the systems in terms of the personnel to do that? And then kind of that related question is looking at enrollments. If you were to be granted a 3-year extension, what would be kind of your strategy and your goal for the spot at which you would be looking to hit enrollments long term in order to be financially viable?
Okay, let me take the first question. Well, we actually started with, actually our staffing model. We were recommended to have a half-time ITA, special education department chair, and 2.5 special educators. So we went forward with ensuring that we had a 1.0 special ITA which would give the opportunity and the additional time to really focus. Our population is not huge, so therefore we thought instead of a TSP, which is support personnel for special education, that we would go with the highly trained clinician to be able to do so with that. Also, we were recommended to have 2.5 special educators, which we funded 3 special educators. So with that, we wanted to make sure that all of the boys were receiving services, which was my first priority in coming here and reviewing the fact that there were a lot of services that were missing. So we made sure through our staffing that we had the right personnel. And then the check-in systems. We are doing a weekly check-in with the checklist for special educators that comes to our administrative team that we review and go over those components. And in these particular cases, these are actually 10 cases to be specific and to be transparent with you. And 5 of the cases are the boys that don't even attend Baltimore Collegiate anymore. But those are the things we actually put in place to ensure that the oversight is being done in effective ways. In terms of enrollment, I think that, part of it is ensuring that people know that we'll be around. That's some of the hesitation that I've heard from families. Like when we have families that come into our school, we find that, when we do our surveys, they're saying that, look, we really like the model. We really like what's happening here. Kids feel safe in our school. The reputation is rebuilding itself and we're rebranding itself. But we're really not sure whether you guys are going to be around. I'd really not like to start my kid in the 4th or 5th grade and you not finish with the high school. Finish in the 8th grade here at your school. But, I think that part of the reputation is something that Commissioner Sally spoke about, high quality instruction. And we're moving in that direction as well, because families not just want the social component and the personal growth and development of young men, which we do a phenomenal job in doing that, as you'll see if you come and take a visit. But it's also the upswing of being able to talk about some of the academic performance things that we've been able to do, like move our literacy data. So I think it's about ensuring that we're able to get the message out that although our data doesn't look extremely well, and just to be honest about it, at the same time, the direction and the trajectory of what we are able to do right now in our school is moving in the right direction. So the way we message it, I think, will be a very important component in ensuring that we can also continue to build enrollment.
Thank you. Final question. I'm sorry, colleagues. So you're currently at enrollment just over 300, and what is your charter approved for, and what would be your goal if you were to receive renewal for 3 years?
Our charter is approved for 480 students, and prior to the pandemic and up until the last renewal, we were at 480. When there was an announcement that we may be not renewed and it got into the press, a lot of our parents looked for other schools, quite frankly, and we went from 480 down to 335, and that impacted our revenue huge. When 150 children leave at 12,000, that's about $2 million a year. And so we have been working ever since to regain people's trust. So one of the challenges is when the recommendation is made, if the community is made known of this before a vote happens with the board, people who were going to apply may not apply. People who are at our school may look for another school because they don't think that we're going to be here even before the vote happens. So that's what happened to us in the past. And so we have to spend an extraordinary part of our budget to try and market, to bring more children back into our school. And we spend a lot of money on other services that attract families because we have to get tutor services. So we've hired reading partners to come in because so many of our boys that are coming from other schools are not proficient in their reading. They're not proficient in math. So we're hiring extra help to provide tutoring for these boys and to do math tutoring. So that's where a lot of our financial resources are going to try and bring boys up to grade level. But we can also market that to people. The other thing that we get to market to them going forward is the success of our boys once they leave our school. People want their boys to go to schools that's going to help them go to high school and graduate. And our reputation is getting out there that boys who go here graduate from high school on time. And I think should we get our renewal, we'll be able to emphasize that in our marketing going forward.
And also, if I can add that, if you look at our parent surveys, parents are satisfied that their boys are coming to a place that's safe. And enrollment is definitely important, and I know the financial implications of that. However, for me, it's important to have academic systems in place that make sense and that we're really able to provide for the boys that we have in our school a quality education that is really thoughtful and intentional and looking at the cultural relevancy that's necessary, needed to really move them at the rate that we see in our success plan. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Ames Messenger.
I actually,
If I may.
I will say, go ahead,
Oh, go
and then
ahead.
I have a question from Mohammed after you, but go ahead, Lallinger.
Thank you. And thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation. And thank you for your commitment and focus to young men in our city. It's extremely important, and you're clearly committed. I have two questions. I'll start with the first. The finances are concerning, and you've talked here today about increasing enrollment to deal with that situation. What other strategies do you have moving forward in terms of, are there cuts planned? Are there plans to raise funds? I commend you for trying to increase enrollment, but what can you give me a few other concrete strategies you will use to get this fiscal house back in order?
Sure. Mr. Bridgers asked for a 3-year renewal. If I was asking, I would ask for a 5-year because we have the opportunity to buy our building. One of our biggest expenses that drains us is our building. For a while there, we're paying $59,000 a month, or over $700,000 in rent alone. That didn't also include the cleaning company. When you added that together, that was taking almost $900,000. I've been able to negotiate that down to bring that number down to about $444,000 a year in rent. But what is available to us now is the building. We've talked to our landlord, and we think that we're in position to be able to buy the building. Should we be able to buy the building, or we go from $37,000 a month down to $15,000 a month. All of those things will help us to continue to bring down our overhead. That's one of the biggest things that are happening with the part of the money that we get in our payout. So much of it goes towards rent. And so when we're bringing our costs down like that, that would be great. But one of the challenges of that is if and the same thing that happens with the banks. Wait a minute, are you guys going to be around to buy the building? And so that's the challenge, right? Because if we had a 5-year renewal, then we got time for both things, building our academic performance of our boys and our team together, and being able to have enough runway to actually pay for the building in the amount of time that we could. So that would bring our money down. We've also been in discussions with a local university who is very intrigued by the success that we're having with our boys graduating from high school at 90% rate, and the fact that several of our boys that have graduated from our school are now attending their school. And so we talked to them about a partnership. In that partnership would also come financial resources that could help us as well. I've also been in discussions with a local trade organization who's looking to try and bring more young people into the trades. And they too are talking to us about a partnership. And should that partnership happen as well, we're talking about fundraising that's coming as a result of those partnerships. So both of those things really kind of line up with where we want to go. We want our boys to be prepared to go to college, but for those who don't go to college, to go into trades. And both the partners that we're talking to have alluded to us that should we go into partnership with them, that there's some financial benefit that would come our way as well. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. Also, as a foundation, we're looking to expand what we do. We have enough room in our building to expand our footprint to go to pre-K. One of the things that if I could do it all over again, we would be a pre-K to 8 school, not a 4 through 8 school. Because being a 4 through 8 school, we're receiving children that have been educated elsewhere before they get to us, and we're spending a lot of our resources trying to get them up to speed. I would rather go down and get them as little babies, 3-year-old, 4-year-olds. We believe that we could open a pre-K here that could be another revenue generator for us to help us bring down our overhead. We also are looking to add a workforce development program here in our building. We looked at our facility to being a overall male development center for Baltimore City, where we're going to get boys from the cradle all the way through career. And so we're looking at things like AI, cybersecurity, some of the other trades like the building trades, being able to be trained in our building. We have such a large 90,000 square foot building that our whole entire lower level has 7 classrooms that we would like to bring some of the guys who are alumni who may not choose to go to college but are looking to develop trades, bring them back into our building and have them learn in our building. That's another source of revenue. So we're looking to be the flagship of our whole program is Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys, but we have the opportunity to open collegiate cots for our pre-K as well as a workforce development program in this very facility that would also defray some of the overhead costs that happens in our facility. So we have a big vision for Black men and boys, for men and boys in the city, period. It just so happens that the population we serve is 98% African American, and we see that population as one that really needs the help in our city. And if we believe we can get them young and we can help them as they're older, we will be the deterrent to them going into a life of being that squeegee boy in the corner or going into the trade, the drug trade. We know that we're the alternative. We just need more time to do it.
Thank you for that. I have one more quick question. I really appreciate hearing about your graduation rates in high school, that success that you sort of compared how your boys do relative to other boys in the city. That conflicts a little bit with some of the academic data here in the renewal. So when I look specifically at SGP, which is about growth, how much are you growing your students? I'm seeing 4 not effectives. And so I want you to speak to that conflict there. Why are we seeing success in high school, but at the same time, the academic indicators that compare where students who are performing at similar levels, how much they're growing? So it's really an apples to apples comparison to other students at nearly the same level around the state. Why is that not effective for Math 4 and 5, ELA 4 and 5, ELA 6 through 8, and Math 6 through 8? Can you help us understand both the success in high school compared with the data that we have in front of us?
Well, let me say that I can speak directly to my leadership coming in the year of the renewal. And if you know the numbers that were existing at that particular time, and even though the growth has been incremental, it's still growth. It takes time to really foundationally lay the foundation from the fact of developing competent teachers, supporting them, and putting systems in place that at one particular point, there were difficulties in all of those areas. Outside of dealing with a challenging demographic group, it does take time to actually do that. And you'll see in all of those measures that there is academic growth. The rate of the growth, we came in on the ground level with that. So yes, the rate of growth has not been that has met the standard of the particular rubric that is being used for, obviously this process. At the same time, we feel as though that at this point, in my 2.5 years here, at this point, we've got the foundational components there. If you look at the SER is saying that the effective systems are in place. So administratively, we've put these systems in place, and now we also have to grow and develop teachers, in order to be able to produce those types of components. So I'm saying to you that if you come and take a look at our school and you see the foundations that we've laid, you'll actually probably get a better picture of, the way that we're moving, how that we're moving, and the fact that the trajectory itself should be something that could convince you to say that, although the data is not where it should be, and there's probably a conflict in that, even though that the other side of it is around how we make young men feel good about learning, feel good about themselves, feel good about projecting their life in the future, which many of them may not even have had that thought process prior to getting here, that the growth and the trajectory is happening. So I understand the difficulty and the possible conflict that you're hearing here, but there's something else inside of a child that can't be measured by this process in terms of his personal growth and development, his self-esteem, and developing him into a responsible, considerate, gentleman human being that knows how to conduct themselves, and at the same time really now are engaging in loving to learn. And I think you'll see that atmosphere when you come here. So yes, I know it appears to be a little conflicting at this time, especially around some of the data points that we've talked about. At the same time, when we took over and where we are now, there's definitely growth, and that can't be denied. I mean, the report card says that, as along with the essays. Matter of fact, if you look at the 5 Essentials survey and the other surveys as well, you can see that everything is moving in an upward trajectory. So that's why the word time always comes to mind when, particularly when you come in and take over a school at the time that you take over, as a school leader, you really have to build it foundationally. And, a school that wasn't even fully staffed at one particular point, and we go from 60% staffing to 100% staffing in the time frame that we've been able to do it. So there are a lot of other factors that you'll see. And one of the commissioners brought up the concept of looking back at the the initial conditions prior to, and that's kind of what we can compare where we were at that time to where we are now. And we know that this school has gotten better during that particular time frame. So that's the best really I can share with you on what could possibly be the conflict.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Bridges,
Yeah.
and what I will say, just in response, I know we're short on time, so I'm going to pass it to other commissioners, but you do have my word that I will come and visit. I look forward to it. I appreciate the way you talk about your values and what you're trying to do, and I also agree not everything is measured with a number. So I do look forward to that visit and look forward to seeing what you all are doing over there. I just don't want to minimize, what the data is telling us, and I don't want to minimize the very serious concerns that were raised about finances. So we got to put the whole package together, and I look forward to seeing you all in person very soon. Thank you.
Yep. And I respect that. Thank you.
Any additional board colleagues with questions this evening? I know Commissioner Ames messaged if we just hold for 1 second to get new voices that may have questions.
And actually, Mohammed texted that the Lallinger's question addressed the question. So we're set to go.
Okay. All right.
I have a question. Sorry, I'm not on camera. This is Commissioner Slater Harrington. Thank you for the presentation. I'm curious, you talk about having some of the financial burden alleviated if you're able to purchase your building to take that cost of rent. But how will you make that happen based on what we're seeing in your current financial situation, being in the hardship with fundraising?
Well, first of all, we have a wealthy individual who's looking to purchase the building for us and rent it to us with the option to buy at cost. So he's not looking to make a profit on the building. He's very interested in keeping us in the community and helping this population. And so they've already made that commitment to us that they would purchase the building on our behalf and rent it to us at cost until we're able to secure our renewal. If we get our renewal and we can take over the building, then they'll sign it over to us. So it's not something that we're necessarily concerned about with the acquisition of the building.
Thank you.
And that's a significant fundraise, trust me, to be able to get somebody to do $2 million for us. That's a sizable fundraise.
And you feel confident that the maintenance and the utilities associated with maintaining the building, that you will have funding to be able to do that?
Yeah, well, we already do them. I mean, it's all the amount that we pay in rent also covers our utilities and things like that. And so we've already been doing that. over the course of the lease that we've had here. So I definitely think so.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Additional board colleagues who may have questions this evening, and we'll come back to Commissioner Coy's request for the conditions.
I can do that now. I can put them up.
If we can have written assurances from regarding the purchase of the building.
Yeah, we could do that.
All right, and I'll turn it over to Angela to take us through the conditions.
Okay. If we can put that, there we go. See if I can get just a little bigger, but I will read them. The operator must hire personnel located in Baltimore area who is knowledgeable in K-12 education and requirements for public and charter schools in Maryland. The operator must show improvement in delivery of special education services and ensure compliance with special education requirements, show improvement in practices around student behavior, due process for students, scheduling of COMAR required courses, collectively bargained compliance with collectively bargained agreements, compliance with grant management, and in operator capacity in general. The operator must provide on-site EEO training to improve practices and creating positive workplace atmosphere for staff. Sessions for school leadership and operator staff, as well as school staff, must be scheduled and take place prior to the end of the school year of that initial term. The operator must hire an external financial expert to ensure the operator's management of funds meets legal and fiduciary requirements, including improving internal controls and use of management and grant funds and other funds. The operator must develop a strong recruitment strategy and plan to be shared with city schools and ensure it reaches an above 80% fill rate of instructional positions. The school must participate in administration of the 5 Essential Survey tool and demonstrate through results that the operator is on a trajectory for improvement. The operator must provide evidence that the data practices have improved, including evidence of professional development for staff on how to use data to inform classroom instruction and evidence of regular, consistent collaboration between teachers to analyze data and adjust class instruction according to best practices. The operator must have no new findings that reveal serious challenges in improving outcomes for students in the specified areas that jeopardize student well-being, achievement, or safety. Failure to meet any conditions may be the basis for earlier termination of the contract.
Thank you, Angela, for reading those and pulling those up. And obviously, for you all being very cognizant of these points and raising them. I do just want to comment that this number of conditions is not standard or is not commonly the case. That is a lot of requirements. When the renewal was granted a number of years ago, that underscore the concerns that existed then. And I would say that based off of the data, there's dissonance, and this was highlighted obviously in the previous question. There's dissonance or distance between what you all are saying here and what the data that has been presented is saying. And I appreciate your invitation for us to come and see and to examine this in person, to examine it in greater detail. This meeting certainly is an important step in that process for the board. And I also add my commitment that I will come and be examining in detail what you have been saying here tonight and the factors and facts that create the full picture and that speak to each one of these points in the prior conditions, as well as the standard items that are reviewed, that are part of the renewal process. And certainly you have emphasized that the fact that these things take time to change, and when I think about that time, I also want to underscore that our students do not get back any of those years if there's lost learning gains and opportunities. And that certainly weighs heavy on me. So thank you for being here tonight and for speaking to these facts, to these issues. And certainly we have time to engage more deeply, which I know we will. Myself and I hear from commitment from fellow commissioners, we'll be spending that time taking this matter directly.
We look forward to it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Additional comments or questions from board commissioners this evening?
Yes, good evening. I'm sorry, I'm just getting on and we had some tech issues. I just wanted to say I am committed to coming to the school as well. So I've been listening in a little bit. I'll ask any questions that I have at that time, but I just wanted to put my commitment to talk in person.
We look forward to it.
Thank you.
And there's a couple of requests from the board, so it would just be helpful with any of the financials that have been mentioned this evening that has been mentioned by Boys Collegiate to submit assurances and evidence that those financial commitments can be made. That would be helpful for the board to review that. You can work through Ms. Alvarez to provide that to the board. Before we move on, anything additional from board colleagues? All right, Mr. Ava and Mr. Bridgers, we really appreciate the presentation this evening, and we look forward to engaging with you on the school site before the board vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Good evening.
We have a couple of tech issues we want to acknowledge first off. I believe, Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, it may be helpful for our prior presenters to log off because this evening we've gotten more interest than the cap allows. So we're up against, we have a lot more folks who continue to join who want to be able to see their schools this evening. So it may be helpful for the prior presenters, just the presenters, to log off so that we have more space to accommodate more folks this evening.
Yeah, and the prior presenters can view via the public stream. So just logging off of the presentation side of the meeting. So if you've already gone, you can switch to the other view. Thank you. Because we were having some tech issues, we are going to go a little bit out of order to give time for some of our presenters that were scheduled next to get adjusted. And so we're going to actually go to Coppin next. So Coppin Academy is operated by Coppin State University. They can have that on the screen. It's a high school. It's been around since 2005, and it's had a mixed history of renewal of 5 and 3 year renewals. In this round, it was found to be developing in student achievement and financial governance. Oh, sorry. I went too far. It was found to be developing in student achievement and climate.
Angela, this is still on the right slide.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
we go
Coppin.
forward to Coppin.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
We're right there.
Boom. I don't know what buttons I'm hitting. And they were effective, in student achievement and financial management and governance. They were developing in climate. They were effective in the MCAP absolute performance for English 10, where while their students, the average student was a beginning learner, their rate of proficiency outperformed schools with similar poverty by 17.4 percentage points at 43.1%. Developing in MCAT math, where students have partial proficiency, they were effective in the 4-year cohort graduation rate with a 3-year average of 86.8%. Climate is the area of growth for them, so they were developing in suspensions, meaning they are aware of their data and they have positive behavior interventions in place, but the results are mixed, and which indicate a potential lack of consistency of implementation. And so their rates of suspensions were significantly higher than the average for high school students. With that, I'm going to go ahead and invite Coppin Academy up to present next.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela. I appreciate that introduction. And to all of the commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I'm Anthony Jenkins. I'm the president of Coppin State University. I also have here on the call with me Dr. Scott and Dr. Lewis, who I believe are with me as well. And I will tee up just some points that I would like for the commissioners to consider. regarding Coppin Academy, and then with any specificity to questions, I'll turn it over to Dr. Lewis and Dr. Scott. At the outset, when I arrived at Coppin State University several years ago, there was a discussion or a debate on whether the partnership between Coppin Academy and Coppin State would continue to exist. And what I asked the sitting administration to do was to pause any decisions about Coppin Academy as the incoming president. I had a broader and bigger vision for Coppin Academy, and I felt as though we could do much better than where Coppin Academy had been in previous years. And so I made a strong commitment to superintendent and to my Coppin State University faculty, staff, and community, as well as Coppin Academy, that we were going to do things differently. And the data that was just spoken about and some additional data that I will share indicates that we have done just that. Over the past 3 years, with the help of amazing faculty, Dr. Scott and Dr. Lewis, who are considered as highly respected leaders in K through 12 education, we have done, I think, some very important and significant work at Coppin Academy. The university has reestablished and strengthened its partnership with Baltimore City Schools. And during this time, Coppin Academy has achieved significant and very impressive academic improvements. Some of them were just talked about. When you look at where we were in 2022 as our baseline with our English language, we were sitting at 24%. Fast forward that today, we're at 43.1%. That's higher than the district's average. We've also seen a 9-point decline in our chronic absences. We've also seen a decrease in our student overall suspension rate. We have also seen significant improvement in our college and career readiness overall score. When I arrived in 2020 and in 2022, that sat somewhere at about 24%. Today, that's at 64.4%, nearly 65%. And the overall CCR success rate, which was at 12% in 2022, today is at 44%. We've also had great conversations at the university and how we do more around dual enrollment, making sure that our students were not only being successful at the K through 12 level, but that we were also exposing them to college courses. And obviously, by sitting on one of the best HBCUs in the state, we felt that we should make sure that they take advantage of that. So in 2022, about 10% of our students in Coppin Academy were taking dual enrolled classes. Today, that's at 46%. And that's a significant increase, again, higher than the average when you look at the overall district. We've also seen continued uptick in our graduation rate. It was decent at 85, 84% in 2022. We're now at 87%. That, again, is higher than the 71% for the district. And then when we talk about growth, we've had conversations about growing Coppin Academy. That is a part of my vision as the president. In 2022, we had just about 350 plus students who were attending Coppin Academy. Today, that number has increased to 450. That's a 28% increase over 3 years. And that shows, in part, the high demand for the Coppin Academy experience from students and their families. They understand what we're trying to do. They buy into what we are trying to do. And so they are joining us at a rate that we are very pleased at. But my goal is to make sure that we can take that even more to expand access and opportunity. When you look at Coppin Academy today, we are in a much stronger financial place. We have invested significantly in the renovations of the space for our students and for our teachers. As the president of the university, Dr. Santalise, when we first spoke, I stated to her that I have a strong commitment to helping Coppin Academy grow. That commitment is even stronger. I have upheld my word. We have improved across many metrics. And yes, there's more improvement that we have room to do, and we're committed to doing that. That is why in this conversation, I want to thank everyone for the recommendation of a 3-year renewal for Coppin Academy. But I'm asking the commissioners to grant us a 5-year renewal for Coppin Academy. When you look at the city schools operator renewal rubric, when you look at Coppin Academy's ratings and the school's overall academic growth, we believe that Coppin Academy's performance aligns with the effective renewal tier and supports a 5-year renewal, not a 3-year renewal. And so I made that commitment coming in as president that I wanted a long-term partnership with Coppin Academy and that we were going to deliver positive results. We have done that. And now I'm asking the commissioners to grant us a 5-year renewal so we have a longer runway to continue the great work that we've been doing with our students and their families.
So I just want to acknowledge that President Jenkins may have frozen. We got you back. We got you back.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate that. I just got kicked off. I am in Arizona supporting our championship volleyball team as they play in the first round of the NCAA tournament against Arizona State. So I apologize for the bandwidth in Arizona. There's only so much as president that I can control. But I am very excited about our partnership with Coppin Academy. And as I was saying just before I got kicked off, I made a commitment when I arrived to have a strong, long-lasting partnership with Coppin Academy. And that is what my commitment is today, and it will be there tomorrow and as long as I'm president. And that is why I'm asking the commissioners to consider a 5-year renewal for Coppin Academy. With that, Mr. Chair, I will yield to any questions. And again, I do have Dr. Scott and Dr. Lewis here with me for any greater specificity that the commissioners may have.
Thank you, President Jenkins. We really appreciate the presentation this night. And also for you bringing your entire team. I'll turn it over to our Board of School Commissioners for questions this evening.
I'll chime in with a question. First of all, good luck in the NCAA tournament. That's very exciting. We wish you the best. In regards to the school's performance, the suspension rate really stood out to me, and I'm hoping that you all could speak to what has caused such an elevated suspension rate, almost double that of high schools in Baltimore City, and what you very specifically and concretely, what you are doing, whether it's changes in policy, changes in approach, restorative practices, what very concretely are you doing to bring that number down as rapidly as possible?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. And I will say that, yes, that number is not where we want it to be. Right now, that's at 33%. And that is a slight increase from where we were in 2022. And so I'll ask Dr. Scott and Dr. Lewis to talk about some of the efforts that we have implemented. And I think some of that number, just like we see on the university side, when you implement policies with greater accountability, you sometimes see that number increase before it then levels off. But let me have Dr. Scott and Dr. Lewis speak to that if you would, please.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. Last school year, we had an increase of suspensions based on an uptick of young women in multiple altercations. So what we did to resolve some of that issues is that we brought in restorative practices. We provided additional support with hiring more personnel. We focused on relationships, ensuring that everyone knew each student's name. We also leveraged a program that we have called Peer Group Connection, which allows our juniors and seniors to act as leaders as our 9th grade transition in. So that program really allowed us to have a focus on transitioning the 9th graders in. And so we are continuing continuing that program again this year. We have maintained the number of support staff to provide both internal inside of the classroom and support where it's needed and external.
And if I can add,
You're getting some feedback, Dr. Lewis.
one thing that I know that we also do is that there is a strong orientation process that begins in the 9th grade. Our 9th graders come to Coppin for just about 2 weeks over the summer to make sure they are understanding the expectations of this school. We are not there for play. We are there to help them choose a career path that will see them on an upward trajectory. And so that orientation is going to prove most effective in helping them to understand the expected behavior from Coppin Academy High School.
But to the commissioner's piece, if I could just kind of wrap this up. One of the things that we also did, and that's why I said that number will increase and then level itself off. We started asking folks to be more vigilant and to report more incidences and things of that nature. So as a response to that and to some policies that we wanted to put in place, more reports came in, and hence we then took greater action, and that's why you see that number climb. But with where we are and what we're putting in place, I'm confident that number will continue to come down as we are cultivating a different environment of expectations, personable accountability, what it means to come of age in high school. Those are key factors that are a part of the learning holistic piece that we're working with our students on. And yes, I mean, we're dealing with young people who don't always handle things in the best light, but it's up to us, I believe, to continue to hold them accountable, even if that means that we have to either do some in-school suspensions or separate them from the school for a day or so for them to come back and understand that this is a place of intellectual learning and not a playground.
And Dr. Jenkins, if I could just add to paint a different picture. So when the school was at 305 a few years ago, we were housed in one building only, which on our campus is Coppin Academy Francis Murphy. As the school expanded, we expanded into another building, which is Grace Hill Jacobs. So currently we are 2 buildings. And so part of that transition of a greater level of accountability is that students were independently being able to go in between buildings. And so we had to evaluate what was that process for students, the amount of time students had to go in between buildings, and then even create a greater sense of safety to make sure that students were where they're supposed to be. So as we expanded our demographics, those things changes. And I'll also say this, our physical education classes are in our physical education complex, which is another building. So we've had to expand our resources and support to ensure all students are safe.
Thank you for those answers. So very quickly, when the numbers come in at the end of the year, are the 3 of you saying we should expect to see a significant decline from last year's suspension rate? Is that an accurate characterization? Do you believe that will happen?
So
absolutely.
I want to put a underline under the word significant. But I will say that we will see a decline. Significant can mean different things to different people, but there will be a decline. Yes, sir.
And I'll just add that currently our numbers are 50% lower than where they were last year at this time.
Right.
That's a great indicator, good progress. Okay, thank you very much. That's it for me.
Additional questions from board colleagues this evening? So one I'll ask that I have a great appreciation for is the important role of educators in the classroom in terms of helping us achieve great results for our young people. And as you kind of dig into some more of the data, it indicates that there's some room to grow in terms of high quality instruction in the classroom. It's near and dear to my heart. Can you talk to me a little bit about what that investment has looked like for you guys from this last charter renewal to now and where you see yourself going to kind of close the gap to ensure that all the young people in the building can have the highest quality education that they can possibly have?
Yeah, for us, it's really started with ensuring that there is a qualified teacher in every classroom. So when Dr. Jenkins reestablished the charter in ninth grade alone, there were a limited amount of teachers, so only one. So one, making sure that we are extending a wide net so that we can hire quality teachers. Also recently, this year, we really focused on data-driven instruction, ensuring that we're using DARTs so that both teacher and student are aware of their own data and they can have more ownership. Additionally, we've connected with Baltimore City Public School for professional development. And so we're not doing our own professional development as in past years, but as we switch to the citywide curriculum, we're also getting citywide professional development to ensure, and then we undergird what the professional development does through collaborative planning, which takes place weekly. So each content team has an opportunity to collaborate and strengthen. Another thing that the school has done very well are learning walks. And so they go into each other's classroom, they support one another on increasing instruction ongoingly. So it's a constant conversation between both data and instruction to ensure that ultimately students are increasing their academic performance.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Any additional questions this evening? Hearing none, I'd just like to thank President Jenkins and the entire team over at Coppin Academy, and good luck at the tournament in Arizona. We look forward to seeing you back here in Baltimore.
Thank you. You all take care and happy holidays to everyone.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays to you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Angela, before we move forward to the next school, just want to acknowledge that for the public that Commissioner Esposito is here as well. She also is having a couple of tech audio issues, so she may not be able to come on camera or off mute to participate this evening. Go ahead and turn it over to you, Angela, for the next school.
Sorry, we are going to bring Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women up next. They're middle high. Their funded enrollment was 354. They've had a mixed renewal history. They were rated developing in student achievement and climate, effective in financial management and governance, and are recommended for a 3-year renewal. They were effective in the MCAP absolute performance for English 10, where while students, the typical learner showed partial proficiency, their school's proficiency was significantly higher than schools of similar levels of poverty. They were developing in their middle grades ELA performance with students having partial proficiency and not effective and big area growth in math for both middle grades and Algebra 1, where students are beginning learners. They're highly effective in college and career readiness. They're in the 83rd percentile of schools. 98.4% of students participate in college and career readiness activities. And their success rates were higher than the average for both participation and success. And 71% of the class of 2023 was enrolled in college, compared to a 43.9% average. They were developing and chronic absence and suspensions, where again, the school's aware of their data, but they had higher rates than the average for middle grades in particular. So with that said, I want to go ahead and bring up Nicole Blair-Barzee, Dr. Harrison, Dr. Jacobs, and Ms. Ojo. Or Ojo, sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly.
Yes. No, that's okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time and your patience as we try to navigate through some of our technical struggles. My name is Nicole Blair Barzee, and I serve as the head of school To be fully transparent, I am unsure as to whether or not Dr. Harrison, oh, here she is, Dr. Harrison, along with Dr. Jacobs and Miss Ojo, we've been working for the last few minutes trying to get on. So again, thank you so much for your patience. I hope this doesn't count towards my 4 minutes. All right, but Kizzy, thank you so much for presenting on our behalf. If we can go to the first slide, I'll try to be as quick as possible. There's just so much great things that's happening at Bliss. I want to say a special good evening to Dr. Stanselises, the Board of Commissioners. Thank you for, again, your patience. Senior Executive Director Angela Alvarez, and the entire Chief Staff team. Thank you for this opportunity for us to present on behalf of Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women and for our ladies, our families, and our board and the entire community. Again, my name is Nicole Blair Barzi, and I have the pleasure of serving as the head of school. And again, I am joined by Dr. Harrison, who is our principal, and Dr. Jacobs, who I don't see on here, but she is definitely cheering us on and probably the one that's giving us lots of hearts. And our parent, Miss Ojo, who is a parent of a 10th and 11th grade young lady. We greatly appreciate the recommendation to renew Bliss for a 3-year term. And over the next 3-year term, we will continue to listen to our community, to receive the feedback, and continue to strengthen our academic program, our school and climate, and deeply impact the relationships and increase family engagement so that we can continue to transform Baltimore one young woman at a time. With that, please share more, Dr. Harrison. Oh, Dr. Harrison, we can't hear you.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me now? Good evening, everyone. Please excuse where I'm looking. I'm on three screens and I don't know which one to look at, but we're going to work this on out. Okay, so on this slide, you'll see 2 areas where our school is performing at a very high level. First, our 4-year cohort graduation rate is 97.1%, which places us in the highly effective range. We also earned a highly effective rating for college and career readiness, with 83% of our students meeting the district benchmark. These 2 indicators show that students are not only completing high school, but they're leaving us prepared for whatever comes next. Also, on this slide, our student cohort retention rate is rated effective, which means students are staying on track from year to year. We're also seeing positive movement in academics. Our MCAP English 10 performance level has increased from developing to effective, demonstrating real progress in student learning. Overall, this shows that while we have areas to strengthen, we are moving in the right direction.
Fantastic. So Bliss has approached the success that we've received by utilizing the following skill sets. So we have small class sizes, which allows for our teachers and really our school community to know the students personally. That allows for us to identify academic gaps early and also personalize the instruction to increase graduation rate. Quarterly graduation progress meetings are currently held by our admin along with our college and career readiness team so that we can engage with our seniors and understand what they need in order for their next step. The college preparatory model that we use allows for our young ladies to participate in college tours, career days, internships, and again, just really engaging in what's needed in order for them to graduate and continue to be a leader well beyond our doors. And we increase the mental health providers in order to meet the needs and to rid most of the distractions for our young ladies so that they can focus on their instructional goals.
Now, this slide outlines our priorities for strengthening Bliss over the next 3 years. Our last few years have not been without challenges, and as a community, we have made and will continue to make intentional adjustments to ensure we are building the school our children and our families truly deserve. We are approaching this work with two major priorities. The first priority is increasing MCAP achievement in the middle grades. This is the foundation for long-term academic success. And we are putting several targeted supports in place. We have the 6th grade math intervention. We're implementing a dedicated math intervention block to strengthen foundational numeracy skills early before they get into high school. We have tutoring programs. So we have expanded structured tutoring supports, including but not limited to Success for All and Eureka across grades 6 through 9 to reinforce learning in both math and literacy. And we have instructional coaching that we are increasing classroom supports through observation, modeling, and timely feedback to improve instruction and strengthen pedagogy across content areas. These steps will allow us to close skill gaps earlier and build stronger academic momentum for students as they transition into high school. Our second priority is improving culture and climate. And to accomplish this, we are celebrating students and staff monthly. And we are implementing the Live School program. This tool strengthens our PBIS framework. Our PRIDE framework is what we call it. It improves consistency and it increases positive and reinforcement across the building. And then we're also expanding our restorative practices. This is something that we've always had, but we're now making sure that everyone is trained in it and that we're implementing it with fidelity. Improving our climate and culture is essential for our student engagement, our staff morale, and overall school success. This is very important to us.
And so I'm not sure that Ms. Ojo can, or Ms. Ojo,
Sorry.
are you able to speak? Okay, I was hoping that I could hear from her. So Ms. Ojo,
Sorry to interrupt you guys. You're just at time, so I just want to give you that.
okay. Would I be able to just add the few pieces? Just we've
Very
been struggling
quickly.
with technology. I appreciate that. Thank you. And so if I were to speak on behalf of Ms. Ojo, she has spoke highly about the transition and the transformation that she's seen within her young ladies. She mentioned just today that the young ladies are blossoming and continue to blossom within this space of bliss. Not only are they leaders, they're learned and really build great relationship with each other, and that they are celebrated for their contributions. And so I just wanted to add that, especially as it speaks to the change in our climate and culture at the school.
And with that, I think that's the end of your presentation. We'll turn it over to our board colleagues. I want to thank you, first of all, for the thorough presentation and for the multiple dimensions tonight. I'll open it up to my board colleagues for questions they may have for the Bliss team. I'm going to start with one because we have some shy commissioners tonight, but they'll jump in soon. One thing I want to honor is what you discussed here is that there are a lot of things to celebrate in terms of progress that you've made. There's been a couple of things that have been highlighted here that I think are really important for board commissioners to consider as they're thinking about what the renewal will look like, what more we might want to see. I'm hoping you can give me a sense of, from the academic achievement lens, from things like climate, things like in other areas where you need to accelerate progress for young people. What concerns you the most in terms of you being able to make up a gap that's been highlighted in some of the ratings that we're having to review? If you can tell us, where do you think the investments need to be made? Because there's a couple of areas that show mixed results.
Okay. So I just want to reiterate some of the things that we highlighted in terms of our approach. And I can start with the academic piece. Actually, you know what? I'll start with climate, and then Dr. Harrison, if you could speak about the other element of academia. So in terms of climate and culture, this year shows the fruit of the work that really has allowed for us to shift the culture that we experienced last year. And so being able to have a very collaborative nature in terms of our planning and hearing from our various stakeholders, we were able to create a system that allowed for our PBIS to be strengthened by live school and then also used with fidelity. Our young ladies, as shared before, and even on behalf of Ms. Ojo, who I know is listening, our young ladies are being seen. In addition to the young ladies being seen, they are the lioness of the month. Our staff members are also being seen and recognized for their work. I would say that our current suspension is a fraction of what it was last year. And that really speaks to the buy-in. The young ladies are taking on leadership responsibilities. I do also invite commissioners to come in and see the beautiful artwork that's in this space. Our building has been transformed internally, which allows for us to continue to transform Baltimore City one young woman at a time.
Yes, and I also invite you to come in and visit our classrooms. We've been able to really dive into the data and figure out where our students are having misunderstandings, and being able to juxtapose their misunderstandings with a need for more professional development with our teachers and come out with a good outcome. So we now have a plan on how we will increase our student data. And you've already started to see some of that in our high school English from last year, and you'll see more of it especially with our middle school math this year, and we continue to grow from there. But it was all about the data that we now have, and our teachers are doing data dives, and the administration is really looking at the data and just putting it back into how we're going to act on that data.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Anything additional from my board colleagues this evening?
I can go, and I think you've already, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, I wasn't sure if another
Sorry.
commissioner jumped in. Felissa's had a lot of transition in terms of leadership, both at the operator and the high school level over the last 5 to 10 years. Just looking kind of at how does that of what is, and even just like looking at that's consistent with what's showing up in your 5 essentials. And so you've spoken a little bit about what that looks like at a classroom level, what that looks like in terms of instructional walk, but really leaning into culture and climate and looking at the professional development of staff in that light. But then I think also just looking at more holistically, how are you going to ensure that there is stability, realizing that there has been a lot of change in recent history.
Can I start, Nicole?
Yes, go ahead, and then I'll piggyback.
Okay. So I was last year was my first year at Bliss, and I learned in the middle of that how much transition they had. And it was very important for me because I could have left. I'm being honest. It was very important for me that those girls saw consistency, which is why I'm still here, and which was why I will stay to the end with these girls until I can't do it anymore. Not only for them to see consistency, but for us to be consistent with them through retaining instructional staff, retaining the same support staff, making sure that the way that their instruction is delivered from class to class is consistent also. This is something that was very important personally to me because I knew how much change that they had. And that's why I'm here today, right now with you, fighting and advocating for our girls.
And I definitely would agree, and you're right. There has been a lot of change. I think in terms of prior to last year, the operator has been consistently the same, I want to say, for 9 to 10 years. Last year was difficult, and that was a transitional year. I opted to leave my previous place early so that I can hit the ground running and understand what the needs are at Bliss. And Bliss is definitely a very special place. It is a space that is near and dear to my heart, and I think to all that spends time at Bliss. I think to answer the second part of your question, we are working to build a climate that allows for the stability and continuity to exist. Last year, we ended the year by recognizing our staff members, and that was well received. We heard individuals say, "Oh, I never received this, and this is something that allows for me to stay." I'll be honest, I have had, along with Dr. Harrison, conversations with previous staff members that said, "Oh my gosh, we miss it. We're hearing so many positive things. Can we come back? We would like to come back." And we have been able to bring back some of the students as well. So I do believe that those data points allow and really signify that the planning, the intentionality that we have brought to this school year it's moving in the direction that we would like it to continue to move.
And creating those structures and systems that will last, and making sure that the people are in place um, to facilitate those structures and systems will also create consistently academically and culture and climate.
Thank you so much. There are additional board commissioners who may have questions. Hearing none, I want to thank the Bliss team for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you in January for our vote.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
pleasant
you.
evening.
You too. We appreciate it. Good night.
Good night.
Angela, I'll turn it over to you for the next presentation.
Jackson School. They are a elementary middle, so in grades 5 through 8. They've had multiple partial renewals. They're a fairly newish school. They were rated. With this school, when we presented in November, we had a pending rating. So with tonight's presentation, we're updating the ratings. We're waiting for some additional financial information, which we did receive. As we shared originally in November, they were rated developing in student achievement and effective in climate. We've now been able to finalize the financial and governance measure that was originally pending, so that it now says developing. And that means we've now have been able to update the recommendation, which is a recommendation for a 3-year renewal with conditions. They were rated developing an MCAP absolute performance for their ELA for their middle grade students, indicating students had partial proficiency, were not effective in math, that's the area of growth where students were beginning learners. They were effective in the 5 essentials, which means the school is organized for success. And that reading means that schools that perform well, meaning they're organized, are 10 times more likely than other schools to improve student outcomes across indicators. As I shared when we originally shared the recommendations in November, we had it pending in the audit and internal controls measure. We needed some additional financial information that related to some significant facility debt that was due this January. And so we have received that information that we needed from the school. And so with that, it resolves our concerns around their ability to meet those debt obligations that are will finalize in January 2026, and they've met some of them already. We also had a concern around seeing expenditures exceeding revenues for a few years. Much of that trend is interconnected with the facility debt. So with the facility debt resolving this January, that should help there be better cash flow. And so when we did an updated analysis, So when we looked at it with the based on the 2024 data, we saw the school operating at 26 days cash on hand with an updated analysis based on unaudited FY25 financials, take into consideration the fulfillment of that debt. We now see a trend of 51 days on cash on hand. It's still below what we expect in terms of 60 days, but looks like they're moving in the right direction. We still have concerns around the difference between their enrollment and cap because it's been tight. It's tight and making sure there's enough buffer to handle any kind of unexpected costs. And we know like salaries have gone up. We see that the uh, uh, and then in their small size being under 300 students. So with that, I want to go ahead and invite up Monica Mitchell, Christina Cowles, Principal Washington, and Jordan Massey.
So we're still having this.
You're muted.
Yep.
We're just trying to get our audio right so we don't echo. Okay, great. Good evening, commissioners. I am Monica Mitchell, board chair of Lily May, and I'm excited to share with you our financial story. Following feedback from our evaluations on our facility, feedback from our school community, and assessments including our prior contract periods 5E and SER, LMCJ entered a board-approved, mission-aligned investment period from fiscal years 22 to 25. As explored this evening, it's incredibly important to invest in climate and culture, advancing academic programs, and addressing core facility and capital needs proactively. Knowing those things from the feedback provided from those evaluations and what we promised you during the last contract period, we planned as a board, understanding that investing time, careful governance, and strategically investing resources in those areas would result in a stronger Lily May built on long-term viability. The decision to spend in these three areas and the subsequent cash recovery plan have moved us forward ahead of schedule. The fiscal year 26 financial trajectory clearly reflects the impact of these investments. Liquidity is strengthened. Our 26 budget projections project a strong surplus, as do our 5-year projections. Beyond cash, we have clean audits. We have met contractual obligations. Thanks to the incredible generosity of a donor, we will complete the $2.8 million payoff of our building with the reinvestment fund in less than a month. Additionally, we're on track to raise in excess of $1 million in additional philanthropy for this operating year, exceeding the $700,000 we raised during the prior fiscal year. We own a 4-acre campus worth $6 million, hold a $700,000 endowment, employ over 30 Baltimore-based staff, and direct nearly $5 million each year into the city's economy. To share how our organizational and academic systems are aligned for success, the rest of our team will share the strong return on these strategic investments.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell, and good evening, commissioners. Ms. Mitchell said it well. We remain stable, well-governed, and aligned to a mission Baltimore still deeply needs. Lily May was built with intention, the city's only standalone all-girl public middle school, a model that is recognized by us and our private partners serving grades 5 through 8 as impactful. We're designed to prepare our daughters for the success and leadership in every major one of our city's beautiful high schools. 10 years ago, our board, community, and partner answered City Schools' call to build a school rooted in academic challenge, strong culture, and joyful belonging. My work as CEO is to organize the school so that the vision lives in every hallway, every classroom, and every crew circle. Since 2022, we've stabilized leadership, rebuilt systems, and strengthened school culture. Suspensions have dropped by more than half, MCAP ELA proficiency has increased, and our family participation in key events now exceed 85%. This year's SCR affirmed that the organizational strength is there. It's noted our effective leadership systems, safe and orderly environment, strong in culture, and the clarity of our structures that hold our program together are truly a vibrant asset to our community. It is also reflected in the significant improvement in our 5E survey, where staff and students belovedly reported stronger belonging, engagement, and trust. And the return on our work this year is real. A steadier climate, a stronger instructional core, enrollment increases, our recruitment increase, and systems that support both rigor and joy celebrated by local donors who have increased their gifts and families who have noted their interest through increased applications. To date, we are 3 times more in applications right now than we were this time last year. What you see at Lily May is coherence, governance, leadership, and mission working together in collaboration with Baltimore City to launch Baltimore's girls into high schools ready to rise. To speak to that coherence a tad bit more, I'll turn it to Principal Washington.
Good evening. At Lily May, teaching is both a craft and a structured practice, grounded in the data that shows what our girls need to thrive. In math, our proficiency held steady at 3%, growing from 0 in the first year of this renewal cycle. We named that clearly and early, and we've already restructured the work. We shifted our coaching model, reset our pacing structures, and layered interventions so we are addressing foundational gaps head on. Our walkthrough data shows real improvement in mathematical reasoning tasks, stronger use of visual models, and more students engaging in problem solving, even as we work towards stronger outcomes. We know exactly where we need to go next, and the work is already underway. Our girls outperformed the state and district for 8th grade girls of color in social studies. This is tied to ELA, where our outcomes are consistently stronger than what our iReady diagnostics predict, showing that when instruction is aligned to grade level standards and routines are strong, our girls rise. Our instructional approach across subjects remains anchored in clear learning targets, consistent routines, modeling, and targeted small groups, all practices that the SER confirmed were present and strengthening. And our traditions deepen that learning. Crew builds belonging and academic habits. Our passage portfolio presentations grow public speaking and reflection, and our fieldwork connects content to the real world problem solving. Instruction at Lily May is intentional, rigorous, joyful, and grounded in the belief that our girls can and will rise. So it is only fitting that I introduce you to one of our 8th graders, Miss Jordan Massey.
Good evening. My name is Jordan, and I'm an 8th grader at Lily May. I'm in a high school choice process right now, and I'll be honest. I was nervous about what comes next, but I'm confident and I'm ready because Lily May, my community, and my family have all prepared me for this moment. At this school, I feel seen, I feel supported, and I feel pushed to be my best. Crew helped me find my voice. Passage presentations is teaching me to speak with confidence, and my teachers never let me forget what I'm capable of. Tonight, I am also standing for our student member of the board who is out sick, so I want to share with you what she would want you to know. Lily May doesn't just prepare girls for high school, it prepares us for leadership. She serves as a voting member of our board of directors, and she takes that responsibility seriously, reviewing plans, asking questions, and helping shape our school's future. That's what this place does for girls. It builds belonging, it builds confidence, and it builds leaders who return not just to celebrate the school, but to help govern it. I am proud to be a part of that legacy and proud of the future we're building for girls who walk these halls after me. And so tonight, on my behalf of our school board member and the many girls who will follow us, I ask you to ensure the mission continues not only for the girls in our classrooms today, but the leaders we're becoming and the school we are preparing to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is time. Thank you, guys.
All right, I want to thank the entire team for the presentation tonight. I want to thank our student from Lily May, Carol Jackson, for presenting. I really appreciate it and hearing your perspective too about your education and where you may go next. I'll turn it over to our board commissioners for questions. So one I'll ask that I think is, and I appreciate just everything you've highlighted tonight. But one of the things I care about a lot is about what does it mean to pick up the pace and clip for all of your learners for student achievement? What would that look like in a renewal for you in terms of getting really focused and targeted in terms of outcomes and how you're using that interim data to really help drive student achievement forward? But what is the real plan and vision for pushing Lily Mae Carroll Jackson, the entire community, our parents, our teachers, our students and scholars towards the outcomes that you guys envision as a school community?
I think one of the things that stood out to us early on as we were building our work plans for long term. And so we do build a work plan that's out 3 years. And so one of the things that we recognized was the importance for staff, students, and families to have a deep understanding of grade level standards. One of the things that, we often use words like proficiency, we use words like grade level, but to really put those words into action and very well laid out plans for not only how we are going to meet them, but we also have moved into deeper data cycles. We have moved into curriculum mapping in a way that allows for us to look at pacing over time. It gives us the ability to also then work on student groupings in a very, very different way. Instead of just looking at student groupings based on overall data, we do that digging down to the individual domain level that gives us the chance to think about what not only do groupings look like in a specific class, but across the grade level. And are there situations where you might need to consider cross grade level groups? And so for us, it really has been about one, slowing down. And so I think that often you come into a school and the thought is that, you're going to hit the ground running. Well, if you don't know exactly what the ground is, there's no point in trying to run on it. And so for us, we really took a lot of time to do lots of walkthroughs and to get a feel for the building and to look at historical data to find out what kind of deficit students were walking in with, to then be able to put to use that diagnostic data. And so for us, it is a matter of getting into the habit of knowing we're going to reset as often as we need to, because that is what allows for us to be clear on where the girls are and where they need to move. And so using those data cycles, being able to put scholars in academic groupings that make sense for them, as well as making sure that we are working deeply in grade level standards so that even if a student is not at grade level in the moment, they understand what that standard means for them and where they should be headed.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then there were some financial concerns that were lifted up to the board. I know you guys addressed just some of that information tonight, but it'd be helpful as the board makes its final consideration to understand a little bit more about just kind of long-term planning for sustainability to keep the school afloat throughout this cycle and beyond. Whether or not you have that information today, but it'd just be helpful to have much more information provided to the board so that we have a confidence indicator that this is just not a one-time issue, but rather there's that long-term sustained planning that helps us understand Lily Mae Carroll Jackson's fundraising efforts.
Absolutely. I think in our application, we were able to provide our 5-year projection. We took a look over 5 years, and as our board, we noted we had this 3-year term of investment. We understood with the implementation of the blueprint that costs were going to rise significantly, and we as a small school and an intentional small school needed to really think about this structurally in a really powerful way. So we took this time to do 3 things: cultivate donors, cultivate engaged enrollment, and then think about our facilities plan and our academic programming more rigorously. We updated our donor platform, noting that the way in which we fund some of our extracurricular and co-curricular programming need to be more robustly explained. But also we need to think about our academic programming, and we also need to think about our climate programming. Our goal over the last 3 years specifically was to improve our outcomes while reducing our expenses. But we couldn't do that immediately. We couldn't just go from keeping the 120 to 150-day cash on hand that we had before to having nothing and not have the kind of academic outcomes that we were hoping to have. One of the things that our community noted immediately, which I am absolutely honored to be a part of a community that does, is that a school should not be having to pay for facilities every month in that way. So us taking that conversation out of the equation this year gives us the ability to think more differently about the other pieces. We also had things like an extended day, which is a really important way for us to think about what other schools have, what our students really need. But as we thought about lifting the conversation around after school and identity developing after school programming, we were able to think about what is a teeter between the two that would allow for us to still provide quality after school programming, arts, science olympiad, sports that would really continue to develop the whole girl, and then bring to them that type of opportunity through a more community-wide approach. We do have a very robust financial team, and as Ms. Mitchell noted in the beginning, that our financial plan is really robust. We think of ourselves as an economic engine. We think of ourselves as a business as well as a school, and so our financial planning mirrors that.
Appreciate hearing that. Thank you. Anything
One
additional
of,
from board?
the-
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
one of the things that I wanted to note is that, this has been brought up a few times this evening, but when you do have to invest in facilities or you need to invest in climate and culture, those things require costs, right? And so there's a very careful balance between looking at your cash reserves and making sure that you make the strategic investments to get the outcomes that you need. And for every omelet, you have to crack an egg. And so that is what I'm proud to say that our board went into this, last contract period to do, is recognizing where, we had momentum, but also recognizing where we, where we had opportunities to grow, and sitting down and recognizing what are the types of resources that we need to, put to the table, including increased fundraising. And we already had a very strong fundraising mechanism, and we've continued to strengthen that. As I mentioned, year over year, increasing our fundraising from last year, 700,000 to this year, over $1 million, and paying off our $2.8 million building through the donation of a donor. That fundraising and cultivation mechanism has continued to strengthen. But as we think about the future for any of us in the charter portfolio, as we think about planned investments in our buildings, that takes cost. As we think about what do you need to do to invest in climate and culture, that could take resources as well. And so there's a really delicate balance that we have undertaken over the last contract period, and we're really proud that we are coming out as planned, and quite frankly, a bit ahead of schedule.
I appreciate just that acknowledgement that these are just not one-time costs, but costs that do have to be planned carefully and managed.
Ms. Matthews say one
To
last
that
thing?
point,
Go ahead.
to that point, just quickly, Chair Sally, I think first of all, like clearly your investments in culture and climate, when you look at your effective ratings for suspensions, for chronic absenteeism, to kind of alignment with your charter vision, like congratulations on those. In alignment with the finance, I think some of that I'm thinking about that while this is a huge investment in your building and does offer significant relief, if you could also, and whether if Executive Director Alvarez already has this, then that's fine if we just make sure we have it, of looking at though in this next 3-year cycle, what are, and even honestly after that, of kind of what are the key investment you're expecting on the facility side. So looking at key systems, roof, if that is the coming, but we're expecting a $50,000 to a $60,000 boiler bill, kind of what does that look like?
So that's exactly the point that I was making, is that those were the strategic investments that we made during this past contract period. And so while we acknowledge that there was a declining cash position, our board looked at our building. We'd had a facilities review and a facility survey, and looked at our roof, our boiler, our water heater, our HVAC system, and made the strategic investment to replace all of those things so that our school community would have that safe and secure, beautiful and predictable space to come to school to every day. And so what while I recognize and acknowledge the concern of the declining cash position, the declining cash position was strategic and intentional. And we're proud to say that our facilities survey and overview, and I've got several members of our facilities committee in the building and in the room with us right now, we have taken care of all of those things. That was the entire purpose of that planning and strategic investment period.
That's a relief. If we could have just as much of that documentation ahead of the vote, that would be greatly appreciated, but that is a great relief.
And I know you guys wanted to allow Ms. Massey an opportunity to speak, so please, by all means.
Yes. As a student, I'm not very much aware of the financial situations, but I know that Lily May has always made a way for our students to still explore and experience new things, even in tight situations. Like 8th graders have currently managed to go to Niagara Falls in Canada. Our 6th graders, I believe, have managed to have an overnight stay field trip or field work at a campsite where they get to learn more about the outside environment and what's around them basically. So as I'm trying to say that, like, no matter what situation our school is in, I love the fact that our school has always found a way to present opportunities for our scholars and our students to always still step out into the field that they never knew that they might want to be in.
And I agree with you that experience and exposure is really important to having a well-rounded education. I'm glad to hear that they're providing that for you and for all students at Lily May Carroll. Anything additional from board colleagues?
Can I hop in with one quick question? And first of all, thank you all for the presentation, and always wonderful to hear from students. So thank you in particular for sharing your perspective. And I know that room you're standing in because I visited your school earlier this year. It's a beautiful room. You have a beautiful school. My question is about the data. Specifically, I was struck when I looked at the SGP data at how different 4th and 5th grade looked in comparison to 6th through 8th grade. And I'm just curious for a little bit more insight there. You're able to move your 6th through 8th graders significantly further, according to the state data, than you are your 4th and 5th graders. Why is that? Can you give us some insight as to why you think that is and what you're doing about it?
So 5th grade is our entry point. We do not have 4th graders. And so this group of scholars statistically is going to look a little bit different because number one, there are on average 20 or less of them over the past 3 years. In addition to that, this is their first experience with us as a school overall. And so a little bit different if we had them, for a year. So if we had them as 4th, that growth from 4th to 5th. In this case, we are looking at our scholars at their very first experience with Lily May, and that is at 5th grade. However, and it won't show this the same way currently, for our 5th graders who start with us and end with us as 8th graders, their growth is in many cases above that of those who come to us in 6th grade and then finish with us in 8th. And so there is something, although because we have to separate the two categories, that it does look, significantly different. If we are to consider our scholar from start to finish, that then gives us what we feel is a much more true picture of their growth over time. And so we only get one shot with that group of 5th graders is the short answer. You get 10 months, and even you don't even get 10. You probably get about 7 because of considering when testing happens.
Got you. That context is very helpful. Thank you so much for explaining that. I appreciate it.
Anything additional? Hearing none, just want to thank the entire team and Ms. Massey for providing your perspective on your education. It's very helpful for the Board of Commissioners to hear. So I hope you guys all have a good evening, and thank you for the presentation. Good night. Angela, where do we go next?
All right, last but not least, we are going to welcome up Baltimore International Academy. So they are an elementary middle school. They've had a mixed history of renewal. They were effective in student achievement and climate and financial management and governance. They are recommended for a 3-year renewal. Schools that have not effectives in categories that look at populations of students are recommended for 3-year renewal. So because they have a not effective in programming for students with disabilities, it caps from the reviewers process their renewal at 3 years. So there was a lot of concerns around We found 11 FAPE violations in areas of non-compliance and delivery of services to students. They're developing an MCAP absolute performance for ELA and math 3 to 5. Again, where the typical learner has partial proficiency. They're effective in MCAP absolute performance in ELA and math for middle grade, where students again have that partial proficiency, but their proficiency rate is significantly above that of schools with similar levels of poverty. They're highly effective in MCAP student growth for math 6 to 8, where they're in the 95th percentile of schools, and they're developing an ELA 4 to 5 and 6 to 8, where they're in the 63rd percentile for both. And then they were not effective in math 4 to 5, where the school's in the 49th percentile, just below developing. With that, I am going to invite up Dr. Harris, Madison Phillips, McOrl Covey, Nona McCary, Aaron Hancock, Arif Abdul Kareem, and Madam Lacunia. Stop sharing. Can our BIA team come to the forefront?
And just while we wait for BIA to join us, I just want to acknowledge that Commissioner Simmons is on the line, and so he's here and joining us too, for the record.
BIA, are you guys able? Okay, there they, I think I hear them.
That was actually, sorry, that was actually not them. That was somebody else that had their microphone unmuted.
Okay, you guys can indulge us for a moment. We know we've had some, there we go. We know we had some presenters with tech challenges, but I think we saw them, they disappeared again, but here we go. We know, let me fix that. So there we go. We can't hear you. Still no.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, okay, all right, sorry about the technology difficulties. So members of the board, students, parents, and community members, I am Dr. Harris, CAO, and I'm here with the BIA family. So good evening. So we acknowledge the recommended 3-year renewal. We, BIA, respectfully submit that most know that the school has demonstrated the performance, stability, and accountability deserving of a 5-year term. We, BIA, provides an otherwise unreachable goal for most Baltimore City students, and that's the access to a rigorous language immersion program. This program expands their academic outcomes, extends their critical thinking, and opens global options that aligns with City Schools' goals for college and career readiness. We acknowledge our FAPE violations, but rest assured we will get ahead of those. We've implemented a special education improvement plan with a monthly CA oversight, weekly school level oversight, and quarterly internal audits to ensure full compliance and continuous improvement. We respectfully ask the board to grant a 5-year renewal reflecting our strong performance and our innovative programming. Thank you for your time and recognizing that the dedication to our students, families, staff, and communities. I'll be followed by Madison.
Dobry wieczór. Меня зовут Madison Phillips.
I'm an 8th grade Russian immersion student here at BIA. Our school is an inclusive and diverse environment where we are taught to love others. We are pushed to do our best. I've been at BIA since kindergarten. I have just received my composite score, and I am pleased to inform you that my score is a 799.8, and my first choice is Poly. Please give BIA 5 years. Gracias, cier, shukran, spasiba, merci, thank you.
Bonsoir à tous, je m'appelle Makoré Quevi. I'm an alumni at BIA, a scholar superstar at BCPS, and I go to Calvert Hall. BIA gave me skills that led to where I am today, especially my language skills. I traveled to China and to France, and I'm fluent in French. During my first year of high school, I was placed in the French class with seniors. None of this would have been possible without BIA. Please give BIA 5 years to continue the good work. Merci beaucoup.
Dear boss commissioners, I'm Mr. Nono Mukari, French immersion and AP French teacher. I can attest to the effectiveness of our immersion programs and the strong progress our students make. All students, including those with disabilities, receive full access to instruction. Our success is reflected in nationwide contest results and strong AP language performance. We are the only middle school in Baltimore City offering AP language advanced placement, and all students are exposed to the AP curriculum starting in 6th grade. We are committed to continue this important mission for the next 5 years. Please give BIA 5 more years.
Hello, my name is Erin Hancock. As a parent, I have seen firsthand the positive impact of BIA's mission. I have 3 sons, 2 BIA graduates, and 1 currently in 6th grade. And our family was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to host 10 Chinese teachers over the past 13 years. The school provides a supportive, diverse, and engaging learning environment for all students and has helped my sons become confident and culturally aware young men. BIA even inspired my son and his BIA classmate to move to China this year and study at a university in Wuhan. I just want to note that a community letter was sent to parents stating the school is up for a 3-year renewal. While the renewal report sent to parents stated the city CEO recommended a 5-year renewal, BIA must receive a 5-year renewal to raise global leaders.
Dear commissioners, my name is Elena Lacunia, and I speak to you tonight not only as the principal, but as a leader who has endured extreme challenges in service of our school community. We uphold program fidelity through multilingual immersion and international baccalaureate, which are both innovative and effective. The work has become difficult. We face teacher shortage, limited resources, and most painfully, a hostile climate of xenophobia. However, we push for a better climate. We push for stronger academics. We push for our students to receive a world-class education for global citizenship. Our staff and administrators are deeply dedicated to program fidelity and compliance. We have systems in place to ensure accountability and equity while maintaining the nurturing climate that earned us effective rating in all 3 categories. We are proud of our progress and confident in our future. We are proud of the progress, and we did not do that for our recognition. We have done that for our students and for our community. We have highly effective in the Chicago 5Es survey, which indicates we are well organized to improve and succeed. Please grant BIA the 5-year renewal term it has earned. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Arif Abdul Karim. I'm the founder of Pathways Education. And as a STEM education partner, I've seen BIA's impact reach far beyond the classroom. Students we worked with years ago still stay connected. It's a true family atmosphere that supports students long after the lesson ends. BIA builds skills, confidence, and community, and I fully support the 5-year renewal.
Here we are with the entire BIA community. We have our students, we have our parents, we have our staff. BIA deserves 5 years renewal.
Thank you all so much for the
So a
presentation.
5-year renewal will provide the continuity needed to sustain our progress, support students in achieving otherwise unreachable global competencies. Thank you for your time, and I yield back to the board.
Thank you guys all for the presentation this evening. It's very helpful to hear from your perspective. I'll turn over to the Board of School Commissioners for any comments or questions this evening.
Other commissioners don't have a question, I'm happy to chime in.
Please.
I'll first start with a comment, which is your body of work is very impressive. It is, I frequently meet students who go to BIA who impress me with their language skills and the degree to which they're committed to their school. And you've built a really wonderful multicultural community there. There really is only, in my view, one concern here between 3 and 5 years, and that is the special education issues that you referenced at the beginning. And I'm happy to hear that you have a plan in place. I would like a little bit more context as to how some of these state violations happened. What is your explanation? So you've already explained what you're doing moving forward, but I want a little bit more context to the extent that you're able to share, obviously without violating any privacy information. How did these happen? Give us some context here, please.
So as I was reviewing the information that we received and just going back doing some legwork, the issue that we saw that was pretty much across the board was that the information was in the folders, but it wasn't reviewed at the time. And then also we understood that any of the dialogue or documentation that was required from these state violations, Maryland IEP Online houses all of that information. What I can rest assured is that there was no services missed. I can also rest assured that students that we had, we even doubled up on some of those students to ensure that they got the respective hours that they needed based on their IEPs. So in and of itself, what I can see and from just my own purview, that it was, and I don't want to rest assured that it was a clerical issue or procedural issue, but those two things is what continuously repeats itself in my observation.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. And if I can just add, we want to acknowledge that we had some patterns of non-compliance in areas of such a referral process, reevaluation, and we are taking that very seriously. School already took correct actions for non-compliance in the following areas. As Dr. Harris said, that we made sure that every document, it's not only is in the Maryland online IEP, but also placed in a folder. Our IEP used the checklist before and after each IEP meeting to make sure that all required forms are in both, as I said, folder and also Maryland online. We are checking our third-party billing. We're making sure that progress reports were sent home and also placed in our folders. We complete all forms in both platforms and also making sure that IEP team is used Gold Book, which provided by the school district. In addition to that, we hold some meetings during the summertime. We had training that we provide to entire IEP team, to general education, but most importantly, also school administrators. So we will ensure that we are continue to be compliant in all areas that were identified in our reports. We are having regular compliance meeting with IEP team, and this is on weekly basis. We review compliance status and also corrective actions that are taken. We are develop and compliance dashboards to track resolution of audit findings. We monitor all timelines, and these dashboards serve us as a centralized monitoring tool for student support team, for school leadership, as well as our operators and boards to support transparency, accountability, and continuous improvement.
Thank you for that answer. I appreciate it.
Is there any additional comments or questions from board colleagues this evening?
Sorry, quick point of clarification for Angela. It's from the paper version, it's marking that the audit is still pending. Has that been updated in the digital binder?
Yes.
Thanks, I'll take a look.
All right. Hearing no additional questions, I'd just like to say thank you to the team at Baltimore International Academy. I'll just close by saying thank you, gracias, for the presentation. Merci, danke, domo arigato, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you for the presentation. Angela, is that the last presentation that we have?
That is our last and final presentation.
I'm going to turn it over to you for housekeeping and closing remarks before I officially adjourn, but timeline and next steps would be helpful, Angela.
Yep. I want to thank all of the schools and students and other staff that participated in tonight's meeting. It's a lot of work to prepare for renewal, and I know the work of schools is incredibly challenging. So I just want to give thanks to them, as well as to our charter and operator-led schools advisory board, who are volunteers that conduct extensive reviews to prepare us for tonight. The next step is the board is going to vote on January 14th on these recommendations. From now through January 9th, members of the public are able to continue to submit written submissions to the board through the portfolio recommendations at bcps.k12.md.us email address. We'll continue to send reminders from now. We'll send some reminders ahead of the close of the submission of any written feedback to the board. Thank you, everybody, and have a, I guess it's not for me to close, but I want to say good night to everybody.
I want to echo my thank you on behalf of the board to the entire community, and thank the community and the schools, the parents, and the community for the feedback and comments that have been received by the board in support of these schools and these communities. Those are read by all of our commissioners here, so thank you for that. This concludes tonight's special board work session. Is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We stand in adjournment. Thank you, guys. Good night.
I'm doing something nice